Assalamu alaikum, students. Welcome to part number 4 of this HTML series. And today I'm not going to call it as an HTML basics. This is actually going to be an HTML intermediate something, because whatever we have done up till now was a little basic. Today we are discussing a lot something which is not basic, and we are now going into a little intermediate stuff about HTML specifically today. We are going to be going on. Let me just go on to w3schools.com, which is our repository for our course here. Yesterday, the last lecture, sorry, the part 3, we had discussed up till HTML tables, if you remember it, and we did it something over there. Some of the topics I missed it because they were actually a part of the CSS as well. We will discuss them lately. I will just show you one thing which was missed in the last part 3. We will be discussing the HTML list here in a lot, and then the block and inline, how the div classes and IDs are actually differentiated over there, how you can use a class, how can you can use. Then we'll be discussing about the buttons also, the iframes. Iframes are the very same thing with which you can load a new web page inside another web page over there. And then very important thing, the HTML JavaScript. Remember, I'm not going to introduce JavaScripts, but just a few examples to change something from the div ID and classes over there. We will discuss that. We will discuss then the file paths, which we already know. We already know about the file paths, the relative and the URLs over there. And we also know about the head section or the head element of our HTML files. And then we will wrap this up in the part number 4, and then in the part number 5, the responsive, the computer code, and all this stuff, the symbols and emojis, which are a little bit different part, or which are actually required when we are actually designing the CSS. So in like part number 5 of this series, we are going to discuss mostly the responsiveness of your code or the HTML file. Responsiveness here means that how your website fares on different devices of different widths over there. And then we are going to talk about the semantics and the layout very importantly over there, and then how the symbols or entities are going to be added. By entities, we need the emerald sign, the and symbol, or the percentage sign, or something like that if you want to add over there. Then emojis are also a part, just like any chat groups over there. Then we are also going to talk about the character sets over there, because up till now we have been using the English from the United States up till now. And then the URL encoding, and then what is the difference between HTML and XHTML over there. That will be in the part 5. For today, we are going to talk about the HTML tables over there, and just a small recap from the last part over there, the part 3. In part 3, we had discussed this was our file. If you remember it, this was index dash part 3. I have renamed it as part 3. So, and I hope these you can download these files from my download link in the description. That is aict.ng.com/downloads. From there, you can find out all these parts. And this time, in part number 3, this was a zip file, because now this is not just an HTML file. This was a CSS file. If you remember it, we had this file over there, and all this tables and all that stuff was being done over there in that form. So when you are going to see this website inside your browser, this was the website over there. And if you remember it, I told you that if you refresh your page, then you can see everything. And this was the hover command. This was not working last time in part number 3. So this is being corrected over there. You can change the color as well. I will just change it just now over there. So we go back on the code over there, and I told you that TR, because we are talking about the row and then the colon sign with hover over there. So the background color, you can change it to something else. Let's say I just want to change it to something a different color. Save the file, go back on my browser where I'm actually viewing it, refresh it, and now you can again see this is not refreshing itself because of the uh, history over there. So I'm not going to do something very much of this one, because every time I can't make my history away, because then actually I have to sign into a lot amount of websites, my YouTube channel and all that. Please try this file at your end and try to see that the hover command, the background color changes or not by this one. So in the last part, we had the table formed over there, and I told you at that time that you can make your table also made up of simple different widths. Here in the table over here, I'm making this style equal to width equal to 100%, which means the 100% width of our element inside this table, which is of course the body element. And then of course we have the heading and heading over there. So of course 100% you have to make it. So 50% plus 50 plus 25 plus 25, and this makes equal to this 50% over here space is taken up till here, and then 25 and 25. If you want to make it something different over there, let's say you want to make it something, let's say I want to make it something equal to 34, and I want to make it 33. I hope so this does not go in the history problem over there, and I can refresh it over there. Yes, okay, this works over there. You can see, because the CSS is something very important which goes in the history of a web page and the browser. That's why the colors do not change very easily, but the orientation actually is reloaded every time whenever you are actually going to have it. So the table is actually something like this. And if I go back on our tables category over there, we did this table styling in detail, and I told you that you can do this one, the zebra stripes as well. You can do the hover table, which you have just done now. You can see this thing. This is a TR hover background color. You can change it to whatever. So your mouse is hovering wherever. So this is being done over there. Kindly play with this table thing over there. This is a very, very important thing. And whenever you are actually making a table with a lot amount of data, then this hovering command is very much important, so that the viewer can actually have their color change for the row or the column at which you are actually having the mouse being used. You can even apply the hover command on a column as well. That's totally up to you. You can even do it on the row as well, here in form of a row, because the table is formed in horizontal manner, which means the columns are vertical and the data is given in form of a horizontal row. Then the last thing which we missed in the last one was the column group over there, and this actually gives a lot amount of idea. If you can see over there, the column group, in which you can actually combine two columns. Here you can see in this table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 columns over there, and the first 2 are having a different color. The next 5 are having a different color for obvious reasons. Maybe you are showing that on Monday and Tuesdays you are going to have an off or something like that, because this is just a calendar over here in front of us. So whenever you are going to make such table over there, you are actually going to have the table and then call group, which is actually the column group over there. So this call group and then the word over there, the attribute span is being used. And here you are actually going to apply the style and whatever stuff over there. And then afterwards you are going to and that column group. In this way, you are actually telling the table that there is a column group in which the style is something different, and then afterwards you have the TR. Let's just see this example here, and it's taking some time because of that ad over there. And now if I have this one, you can see now it's very same, nothing fancy change. You have every time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 columns. But here inside this column group, you have a span equal to the background color. Now let's say if I change this to 3, again run it. Now you can see the first 3 columns are having the 3 different colors. I can even change the color. Let's say I change it to something different. So let's say I change it to AAA just randomly, and you can see that the color is also changing. So in this way, you can combine 2 columns and do the styling for some end of that column over there. So you can do that call group inside it. Secondly, very importantly, you can even have multiple column groups inside it. For just say, in this example, you can see this is call span 2, the background color is different. For call span 3, that is different. So let's just apply this thing inside this one. So let's say I have a column 3 over there for this one. So I want to have another, let's say for 3, and the next 4 columns, I want to call it the background color. Let's say I want to apply a different color over there, and I just run it. So you can see now that the first 3 columns are having a different background color. You can apply any style. You can even have inside the style category, after the style category, you can even have the font over there. Let's say the font color, not actually the color is just given by the color command. And in color command, let's say I call it blue over here just for the sake of it, because this is in something in a brownish color or strand over there. And here I make the color equal to set yellow, because it's actually having the reddish background. So when I just apply on this one, uh, this should be working if I'm not doing something problematic over there. Yes, it should be working. Why it's not working? Because the background color is here and semicolons are exactly working. the color is equal to, this should be working. Must be some issue with my, again, command. Background color is changed. So why not background color is changed? Then the color should also be changing. Uh, Maybe let's say font. Let me just change something else over there. Um, so uh, maybe some issues with the my command, because remember one thing, whenever CN aside and CSS there is some issue, the command is ignored over there. So maybe I'm not applying the exact background color is there. I have the inverted commas over there, the 3 and 4. Let me just check it on. Okay, that's working still fine. Yeah, even I can have the color changed over there. So this means practically this is working. Nothing issue with that one exactly, at least. And why the color and the font family is not changing? You can even have empty call groups as well. You can see over there. You can even have the you can see you can have a column span 2, column span 3. So the first three are having nothing. The next two you are having a different style over there, and the last two it's totally invisible, which means that they are not visible over there. You can even have the visibility collapse as well, which means that this is again an attribute of the style, oh, sorry, a property of the style attribute over there. So you can have the visibility collapse as well. Let's just see if this works on this example or not. So I'm just doing this example over here. Let's see. So I want the font family and all this thing to be not visible. Let's say I just want to make it collapse over there. So if I just run it, so there is some issue, I guess, now. So this means if this visibility collapse is not working, so certainly this means that mm, my editor has some issue. So visibility and the collapse is not working. Or maybe I have to change this background color also, take off it over there. Uh, so there's certainly something, some issue over there. So I guess, please try this one on your end over there, because this visibility collapse should be working. You can see over there in column span 2, the table does not collapse properly. Okay, the problem is this thing. Yes, the problem has been found. Because I'm on a Safari browser, the columns does not collapse properly in a Safari browser. So there may be some issues with that inside my Safari browser. Please remember, this is one of the problems, because the tables are not that much adequate in all of the browsers over there. So you have to be very, very careful. Please try this background color thing again, as I was trying to do it over there. So let's see if this works on your case or not. So just see it. If this works in your case, try to do this example on your side, maybe on a browser or something different. So this still works over there. The background color works, but the color is not working over there. So maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe the color, let's say, I want to give the color in some different format. Let's say over there. So it's still not working. So maybe some issues. Please try to do this one on your end, and maybe in the next class I will tell you if I find out the problem for this one. Remember one thing: the computer is not going to do any mistake. This is always a mistake in our either end, or maybe the browser is not supporting it, or it is some issue. Now coming on to the first part of our today's part, that is actually the part 4, is HTML list over there, and inside HTML list over there. Let me open the HTML list over there. And HTML list means that you are actually going to have a list. And list can be of two types. An unordered list. By unordered means that they're just going to be bullets or some tick marks or something like that. So it's going to be an unordered HTML list. And if it's an ordered HTML list, then this is something like this. So this means in this way, you can have an unordered HTML list with some bullet points. Now you can change this bullet to a tick mark. You can change it to some hyphen mark or something like that. And for unordered HTML list, the tag name, or the actually the starting tag, is called as UL. So if you want to make something like that, let's say on our website, I would just copy this thing from here, go on my Visual Studio Code, and have been giving this table, and above the table, let's say, because I'm just putting everything inside one file, and I'm sharing this file every time with you. So I have this UL and coffee, tea, and milk over there. So this is going to be a list, and UL means unordered list over there. LI mean the list item. LI stands for list item over there. So let's say since I'm doing it for all the sections over here, for section A, section B, and section C. So let's say I am putting in over here section A, and I'm putting in section B, and I'm putting in section C. Oh, I actually have missed this angular brackets over there. So whenever you are copy pasting it, be very, very careful whenever you are doing it. And if any mistake is done, of course, then it's going to be an error on the other side of your browser, and the user is not going to actually say it. So when I have this one, let's say, because I have 4 sections I'm teaching for the morning session. So I have this one, and if I go back on my browser now and refresh my page, so you can see now section A, section B, section C. Oh, sorry, that has to be section D. Section D is also there. I have missed it because I did not change to that part over here. So this is section A, B, C, and D. So you can see now if I refresh it, so I have section A, B, C, D over here in this part. So this is an unordered list over there, and in this unordered list, similarly, you can have an ordered list over there inside with the name of OL over there. You can try this one yourself. It's something very simple. The only thing change is it that if I change this thing, let me just in fact change it for you. If I change it to OL and I change this also to OL over there, so this means that now it's going to be, if I just refresh it again, this time we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are actually the section names over there on which I'm teaching: section A, section B, section C, and section D over there in front of us. So in this way, now you can have another type of a list apart from the UL and OL. This is called as a description list. I will come back to it as in the other list as well, but just for now, let's say I want to discuss it, and DL stands for a description list, DT stands for a description term, DD stands for here the description of the total item. So let's say I just copy this thing, and this is something exactly similar, but nothing. The only thing change is this, that here I am actually going to have, let's say, here I have the section A CR over here, and I'm going to let, I guess if I'm not wrong, his name is Ahmed actually. And if I'm talking about the section BCR over here, so let's say I'm just giving a little detail over here. So this means I have actually his name is Usman. So in this way, I can add a description list, and in this description list, when I have saved it, and if I put it again on the refresh over there, you can see section ACR, and here every time they are going to have a tab, and then afterwards and the name or whatever I have given the description over there. Now this description can be very long as well. It's totally up to you. Here you can see the black hot drink. It can be 1 line or 2 line over there, but of course there is going to be some distance whenever going to be, because it's actually just like a heading and then the description of that over there. That's why it's called as the description list. That's why the name used is DL. So DL tag defines the description list, the DT define tags the term name, and DD of course describes the description of that one. Now going on a little bit inside it, inside the unordered list, you can even have nested list also, which means that you can have list within inside a list as well. But before that I go on, the first property in which you can change the bullet points over there, let's say I want to change it. Let's do it back to, let's say, the UL is there, and I'm not using the OL, because OL of course is going to have 1, 2, 3. And here if I have this UL over there, and of course there's going to be some symbol used over there, then I have the first property, or the first styling property is called as a list style type. Now this is again an attribute of the style parameter. So this means that the style is going to be again included. And if I just put it like this, I just copy it over there. I'm not using the CSS at present because this is just a simple UL list over there. So if I add this thing, and I have missed this question, you can see now if I have missed that double quotes, the whole code actually goes, and that's why the editor is important. So when editor is always being used, and if I just again refresh my page, and now this time you can see you have the bullet points over there. So the bullets are there, the disk is there. So that's actually the point. And if you are going to use a disk, then this is that's default, which was already before. If you want to put a circle which is not filled, then you are going to use the word circle. If you want to put a square, let's just do it with the square over there, and let's see what how it happens. So if I change it to square, so this is square over there, and now this will be a square used over there. Yes, now you can see over there, that's a black color of square being used over there instead of the circle over there. So in this way, you have 4 different types of style type. That is a list style type being used over there. The style property is being used. Now inside this style over there, if I, let's just say, let's just check me that if I want to change the font size over there. So the font size over there, and I want to make it like something like, let's say 20, 40 px over there, let's say. And let's say it works or not. The styling property should be working because the styling property is a part. So you can see now because the background there is a mountain or actually a train over there, that's why it's there. So I can change the color as well, and that will be much easier for me than the color. And then it can be changed. Let's just take it to yellow, not maybe yellow, but maybe aqua is something okay. Or maybe yes, aqua is okay, because then it's going to be visible on the black background, or maybe on the, so you can see now section A, B, C, D, you have changed that to a little big name or whatever you have. You can apply any styling property. You want to add a background or you want to add something, so you can apply all the styling properties. You can do the circle one, you have done this in the square one in front of you. If you want to have a no list, which means again just nothing, no bullet names over there, or sorry, no bullet symbols over there, then you can use the none as well. Now you can have a nested list as well, which means that inside nested list over there, then you can use another ul inside another ul. I will strongly advise you do this one over there yourself. Try this one. So in this way you can have the list also in this way. You can also have the horizontal list with css. Now this is something very very important over there, and what this means actually, html list can be styled in many different ways with css, and one popular way is to list horizontally to create a navigation menu. Now this is something very very important, and this is now the first step towards a very basic css we have done, or we are going to do this one in the maybe in the part 5 also, or maybe in the next parts to come on. And this is called as the navigation menu. Now if you see this w3schools.com, if you see this very carefully, here you can see html, css, javascript on this one, and this is just like a navigation menu. Now in the every page you click, whatever you click on the ordered list over there, you always have this navigation menu. On the top you have the names and tutorials, references, exercises, certificates for the teachers for upgrade or something like that. But whenever you are clicking on anything, the navigation menu, and this makes your user who are going to use this website, so always you are going to have a navigation menu on your website if you want your user to be able to browse your website easily. And for that purpose you come in with the list, and how you are going to make that horizontal list, now that is something very very important. For that purpose, supposingly, let's say I want to make a list on my top of my page over there. Now my page over there, let's just go, let me go back on my page over there. After the html course, I want ai students util, or I want a list over here. And of course I wanted something in the yellow background, because I already have a background of some bluish color, and that clouds are there, and some light of yellow is already there. So I wanted something different, and I want that list, and that's actually again a list. And here I want to use the list property over there. For that purpose, the first thing I'm going to add over there is this, that I'm going to just copy this thing. Let's say I want to go on this part where I have this H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. Let's say I want to apply after H1 and H2. For the easiest purpose, I'm taking out H3, H4, H5 just to give it. And now I want to add this over here. Now this is home, this is news, this is contact, this is about. Now this is, since I'm talking about a simple HTML page. So I'm not giving any H reference over there. Here, home will be home over there. News will be a news page. A contact will be a contact page, and a about will be an about page over there. So this is going to be 4 different links over there on the top over there. Now you can add many different links over there on the top over there. Let's say I want to give a link over there. Let's say I want to make a link over here of let's say after the css over there. Let's say I want to make a link for the css, because css is going to be very very important. And next I want to add a list for the javascript over there. Let's say, so I'm using this hash mark. I will tell you this hash mark also just a little bit. Just wait for like 5-10 minutes, and I will tell you that what is this hash mark and how this hash mark works. And this is actually with the id on your page, or as a bookmark over there. Remember in the part 3 I talked about this bookmark, and I told you we will be discussing this one in the part 4. So I have now 1 2 3 4 5 6 over there. If I have news over there, let's say I want to add a page for like maybe something as the, let's say I want to give it a results one over there as well. and I have a result section as well. So these are all the sections on my page over there, the main home page. If you want to make them link to another page, then of course you can make it anything else over there. So if you want to, let's say I want to go towards my YouTube channel over there, let's say, let me just take on another link over there and just put it over there. Let's say I will just put on my YouTube channel. So this is my YouTube over there, and I want to click on and I want to copy my YouTube channel link. So let's say, let me just go on my YouTube channel over there. So where is my YouTube channel over there? And I want to go on towards my YouTube videos over there. And when I've done this, I want to go on to my channel. So this is my channel and all the videos which are uploaded over there. So when I now need to have my YouTube channel, so my YouTube channel link is something like this. So this is my YouTube channel. So I will just copy this link over there inside this one. And now whenever, now how this is going to be displayed, that is actually the important part. Now here in this one, I have made over there, and now I'm going to go in the style CSS file, and there I am going to do 3 or 4 different things. The first thing, UL, I'm not going to apply a style here. I'm now going to apply this UL over there. I'm going to do it one by one so you have an idea what I'm doing. I will go in this part file. And after this H1, H4, H5 over there, I just add this one UL. The first thing what I'm doing, now see this very, very carefully. UL, list style type none, margin 0, padding 0. Now you are not accustomed to this margin and padding. Now remember one thing what I'm going to tell you. Now this is the very, very first step of how page works on the HTML. Now, what is margin and padding? Whenever I'm talking about CSS, this is the very, very first thing I want you to learn about CSS. Inside an HTML page, whenever you are going to have a element, either it's body, either it's heading or whatever, it's always going to be composed of this 1, 2, 3, 4. That is like first thing is the content, which means either it's heading, it's paragraph or something. Next thing is padding. Padding is going to be added as a part, as a difference between the content and the border. You're already aware of the border. That border can be dotted, dashed, or lined over there. The last thing is the margin. Now that margin is actually that distance from the edge of the page. Now if you see very closely over there, my page at present, you can see in this corner over there, you can see the body is the whole element of this page. And if you see this area over there, the heading H1 has a small margin on the left hand side and also on the right hand side. Why? Because the body element, which is actually the whole body element of this page. Let me just go back on the code over there, because in the code over there, you can see this is my body element and everything is inside this body element from here till, let me just go to the end of this body over there, the body up till this point. So I have not told my browser that body is going to have a margin of 0. If I tell it that my body is going to have a margin of 0, then everything will be inside. Let's just give you an idea. Where inside my body, I tell it over there that margin is equal to 0. Now, what will happen over there? Now, this is something very, very important, which many of the courses are not going to tell you. Now, you can see over there, when I've made this margin equal to 0, now still the space is not there. Now, you can see over there, still margin is there. And now I can put another command over there. Let's say I add another command over there, and that is going to be padding. So if I have the padding equal to 0, so when I've made these two commands, let's say this should be working. I don't know why it's not working again because of my browser. Let me change this thing. Actually, it will be much better if I open this one inside a private window. Let's say if the history is not going to create it. Sorry about this part. Every time my history is going to create an issue. Okay, now you can see. You can see now when I have made this margin and padding equal to 0. You can see now everything is over here combined. Now I'm going to use this private window again and again. So I will open my w3schools.com page here. So pardon me for the problem. So I would strongly advise you, whenever you are doing this coding, please always use it. So I was on this CSS box model. So whenever you are talking about an element, please use this CSS box model. So the content is here, the margin is there, the padding is there. So now padding is 0, margin is 0, border you have already not applied. So every box consists of 4 parts: content, padding, borders, and margin. This is something very, very important. And remember, the content of the box where text and images appear, it can be text, it can be image, it can be heading, it can be paragraph over there. Padding clears an area around the content. You want to add some padding, you just wanted that the border is a little away from your content. You don't want the border to be just putting the pressure on that content over there. That's simply okay. Border, you already know about it by adding 2 pixels, 3 pixels, or whatever in percentage you can add. The margin clears an area outside the border. The margin is transparent. Remember, the margin is transparent. The padding can be of different color. Remember, the padding can be of different color, background color, you can call it, or area something. So you can add over there. Let's just see one example of the CSS. Remember, I'm giving you this first example of CSS today, and a CSS is part of this one. That's why I've called this one as an HTML intermediate. Now here you can see very carefully what I have done over there, demonstrating the box model. And here inside it, the text is here, and that is inside this one. I have still not given you the div, what is div over there, but just ignore that div over there. I will tell you this div just shortly in like 5 or 10 minutes. And you can see that this text is the content of the box. We have added a 50 px padding, and that padding is added over there. That is 50 px padding over there. Margin is 20 px. So you can see that this margin here is 20 px, this is 20 px, and this is 20. And the border is also added of 15 px. Now if I can change it, let's say I change it to 10 px, you can see the size reduces. And because that div over there, now that div I will explain you just shortly. Just remain with me on this thing and I will explain you. And here I have given the width equal to 300 pixel. So I have given it that this box over there, that this div over here is going to be of 300 pixel. That's why it's not taking the whole space. So if I can change it, let's say I call it equal to 200 pixels, run it. You can see the width is changing, and because it's going from the left hand side and I have not made it something, the margin is 20 px. Let's just say I make it 40 px. So now you will see it moves on. So the margin from the left and the top and the bottom, it is increasing if I'm changing the margin. So I hope you are getting the idea what I'm doing over there. The H2, P and P on the topmost are the very exactly same thing, just demonstrating how the box model runs over there. The only thing which you're still not understanding is that div. I will tell you this div just later on. It's just like an element encompassing many, many different elements inside it. It can be a paragraph, it can be a heading, it can be anything over there. So div is just like a box over there. So you just want to have a table and then you want to place all the box inside that div box over there. I will just tell you later on. So this CSS box model is something very, very important, and I will like you to use this and go on this CSS link over there and use this CSS box model, go through this example over there, and you will have an idea. So coming back to my website over there, I have made this border and margin over there equal to 0. So now you can see very easily that my page is now having nothing. And the next thing which I have done over there, you can see now inside this UL. Now, for next coming back to margin is 0, padding is 0, overflow is hidden. Now, what is overflow? Now, this is again another property which is always a styling property, and I will show you this thing. I have to go back on that private window. Please use always this private window. That's simply very easily for my this history problems over there. So if I have this CSS overflow, let me just find it out. CSS overflow, it should be somewhat here. I can't find it out. Okay, if you can't find out, remember one thing on w3schools.com. If you want to, you can't find it out, just write it down in this search window, and this gives you the overflow property. So this is something very simple. And what is overflow property? Overflow property means that what happens if your content is bigger than the box which you have given. What it means over there. This means that supposingly you have defined that, okay, this is the size of this width, this is the size of this height, and everything you have written, maybe a paragraph or maybe something, it has to define inside it. Then what happens? Then overflow property tells it that supposingly if I make that browser window short, or if I'm opening that website inside a mobile and the viewable area is done, then what happens? What happens to the content? There are 4 options over there for the overflow property. Overflow property, the first thing is visible. it will be visible. It will not be clipped. The content renders outside the element box. I will just show you now how this one. Next thing is hidden, which means it will not be shown. If it is beyond that, it will not be shown. It will be clipped over there. Next thing is scroll, just like the scroll bar, if you have seen it somewhere. So this will be a scroll bar. Next thing is auto, similar to scroll, but add scroll bars only when necessary. Okay. So if you are just going to reshape your window, so you're going to, let's just see how this works over there. Now, CSS overflow visible. If you want to see visible, how this works over there, see this property again, a div. Okay, I will come back to this div one. Sorry for this one, I have not discussed this div before, but just take this div as just like a box which is combining many different elements. Now here inside, for this div inside the style, I have given a background color. Of course, you can see the orange color just to make it different from the other body of the HTML page. Width I have defined as 200 pixel, height as 65 pixels. So now it is just a very simple, but the content which I have written inside this div is beyond it, because the font size and everything I've used is. So now what is happening, because I have given the property of overflow equal to visible, so it's going to be visible. It will still show, but it will be visible. So even if I reduce it, you can see now when I'm reducing it, it's still showing you that property over there and I'm resizing my website over there. Next thing, very important, apart from this visible, hidden. Now, when I use this hidden property, same thing, same property here. This time overflow is hidden. You can see now the content is not shown. So that orange color box, the defined area, the remaining overflow, whatever data may be, it may be like 2 page, 3 page, whatever, 3 lines, 4 lines, it will not be displayed over there. So it's going to be. Next thing is scroll. I will just apply this one over here on this one. So let's say instead of this hidden, I apply scroll over there and I just click on run. You can see now I have a scroll bar. So you can see that I have a scroll bar over there. So in this way, your overflow. Now, you may be thinking on it that why I need this overflow property inside my HTML page for this content of this. Now you can see over there, if you, I don't know how many of you can see this because the color of the background I have changed it. This is home, CSS, JavaScript, news, results over there. Now, why I need all this 5 over there and why I need it? Because at present I am viewing this website on my laptop or on a screen which has the width area of something like 1200 pixels or even more than that, because it's a 2 scale screen. But when I'm going to view this website, the navigation menu which I actually want, which is still at present vertically, it's not still horizontally like this where my mouse is scrolling. I want it actually practically, because I've still not added that property. So when I've done this one over there, I want it when the space concises over there. Like this means that when I'm going to resize my browser, or maybe I'm going to view it on a mobile, or maybe a tab, or maybe something in the landscape mode, not in the portrait, or maybe in the portrait mode, then the overflow property has to go inside the next over there. So what I want from it, let's just go on the HTML again back. And I was thinking about this HTML list over there, if you remember it. And we were talking about this unordered list. And I told you that at the very end, now what you are going to do, I am going to make overflow hidden. The background color is equal to 3333. Now, instead of using 333, because my website is something different, I am going to use something yellow color. Let's say I want to use a yellow color. So I want to use something good. Now this is the list over there. Now list type is none and I have added it. Now by default, every time a list is being created, those lists are going to be always in the vertical, because list always is made vertical. So this is something very okay. The UL is being done. The next property which I want to add over there, let me just go back on the w3schools.com, is that the inside UL you have a list. And now this time the next thing is LI property, which is float equal to left. Now this is something again, a property of the CSS, and how this works over there. What is CSS float over there? Remember one thing, as I'm going to progress further in these parts of HTML and CSS, I'm not going to go towards one by one of this CSS tutorials over there. Why? Because as that thing comes, I'm going to discuss it and then I'm going to move on towards the HTML. Maybe we'll have a one separate section, one separate part for the CSS, but as the property comes, then I'm going to discuss that CSS property. Now, what is the CSS property of float? Float property specifies that how an element should float within its container. It places an element on the left or right side of the container, allowing text and inline elements to wrap around it. Now, CSS float property, just like overflow, float property has four different options. One is inherit, other one is none, other one is right, other one is left. You can't make it center. Remember, float, if it is left, this means that all the elements inside that are going to be floated towards, or just like a boat which floats on a sea or inside a river. If it is tied to with some rope to the end of the river bank or the ocean side or the seaside, then it's going to floating on that particular riverside or that particular hedge over there. So it's going to be floating towards the left side. So hence, similarly, all the list I'm talking about over there, they will be floated on towards the left side. If I want to make them floating on towards the right side, then I have to use it on the right side, which means on the right side of a page. None means that it is default, the element does not flows and is displayed just where it occurs in the text, which means that because lists are always going to one by one going down vertically. So this property, when I'm going to add of li over there, now this is li over there, and inside li, when I'm going to add this over there, just below this thing, when I add this one, now you will see at once your view page, sorry, on this one, my VPN is opening. And if I open this one, and now you can see now that HTML, CSS, JavaScript, news, results, content, YouTube, and about, they all are now here in the horizontal, but they are still squeezed together. Everything is squeezed together. There is no spacing. I want some spacing over there. Why I need some spacing? You can see HTML, there is some spacing, which means I have to add some padding. I have to add some padding with this HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They all are links. They all are links. And when I'm moving the mouse over there, they are going to change their color. You can see that color changes to some brown, black color over there when I'm moving my mouse over there on these buttons. So similarly over there, and this is section A, B, C, D, because that's also a list. That's why it's giving me that thing. So just for the at present, in my part 3, I'm going to take off this this section A list, sorry, section AC, I'm going to take this out. So it's just going to be a website of this 4 over there. Now, they're very, very small size. I want that bar to be visible over there. The next thing I have to add is that inside LA, now this thing, inside UL and inside a list over there, I have added A. Now, you may not notice this A was for the link. Now this is A inside your list element. So remember, you are having nested elements over there. So you are adding A inside a list over there. So this is an A link over there, a hyperlink over there. And now this time you are going to add over there LIA. And now when you are going to add this LIA, let me just add this first and then I will explain this one over there. So when I add this one in my part file over there, LI, now what is this doing? See very carefully. LIA display block. Now, what is this display block? It's going to display as a block over there. I will come back to this property in the CSS later on, but at present, just make it that this is a display block. Color is equal to white, which means the text color. Now, this is going to be a color which I've chosen for that one is going to be, let's just make it yellow. So I don't want it to be white. Let's say I want to make it something black color, because black on yellow will be something visible. Text align center, which means that I want all the links to be over there, and a padding of 16 px, which means now padding all around it will be adding. Text decoration is none. Now I've added this text decoration. I will come back to this text decoration later on. So please remind me at the display and text duration. We'll discuss this later on. Now, if I go back on my page and I refresh it, now you are going to see it that your home, CSS, JavaScript, news, result, content, YouTube, about, they all are now as. Now, why YouTube is giving a green color? Because that is a my web page, my YouTube channel page, and it's being viewed already. That's why it's giving me that green color. So I have to change that color if I want to make it in blue color. So you can see now that home CSS, so I have a navigation bar and I can add many different elements over there. Now still it's not giving that hover effect, which means that I'm going to move the mouse here, it's not going to give that hover effect over there. For that purpose, I have to add one more thing. Now remember how this is working. First of all, I added a UL. Then I added an li, then I added an lia because a is inside li. So this property will be only applied on all a's which are inside a list. Then lia hover, this will change the background color when I am going to hover it. So remember how this file of CSS is actually being now made. Li hover, and when this is going to have the background color changes from that orange to, let's say I change it to something an orange color from the yellowish color. So you can see from this, let's say I want to make it more yellowish over there. Let's say I want to select something more yellowish. Okay, this seems much better. So when I'm going to move my mouse over there, the background color changes from that yellow to orange. So let's just see how it works. Refresh it. Now you can see when I'm moving my mouse, the background color is changing for my navigation bar. So how you have done it, now you have achieved something similarly how you're doing it on w3schools.com. I'm moving my mouse over there. I will come back to this, why this HTML link is green in color and the remaining ones are not, and that one, and whatever link you click it, that will be actually active over there. I will come back to it later on. But at present, you have successfully made a navigation menu. And remember one thing, whenever you are going to make a navigation menu, this makes it very, very easy for your users to actually navigate your website. And that's why it's called as a navigation bar or a navigation menu. You can click this YouTube link and my YouTube, of course, my channel will be opening. And because I am on a private window, that's why it's not going to, it's going to ask me with my password and everything because I'm on the incognito window. If you are using some other browser over there, you will be having this problem as well. So this is my unordered list made into a navigation menu. And I hope you have gone through the steps of the CSS float, the overflow hidden, the background color, the hover property, and it's very simple. I've gone it with one step by step. Kindly now, from now on, whenever you are going to submit me or you're going to do something in the lab, please always have a navigation bar on your website. That navigation bar actually makes it very easily over there. Now, when I'm going to click JavaScript, nothing happens because this is a bookmark. And I will come back to this bookmark a little later when I'm discussing the next thing, which is actually the HTML ID. So I will discuss this. So don't worry, I will be coming back to this one. So this, in this way, you have added a navigation bar. Next thing, before I move on towards the actual block and inline, is the ordered list. We have already discussed that you can have an ordered list over there that is using the OL over there. And just like similarly, you can have the HTML list using the type property inside the style over there, and that is that type over there is equal to 1, type is equal to a, type is equal to a, type is equal to I, type is equal to small I, which means that this is the Roman number in capitals, this is the numbers in the lower case Roman numbers. So if you want any of these ones, so you can have type a1, a small a, capital I, small I, so you can have anything over there. Similarly, you have the uppercase letters, the lowercase letters, and all that. Kindly try this one yourself. That will be much easy for there. Similarly, you can even have the control list counting as well, which means that you want the numbers to be started from wherever. So supposedly, let's just see this example. So if I have this example, you can see for this ordered list, because I'm putting some numbers over there. This is OL. So start is 50. So 50, 51, 52. So you can see over there. Similarly, start is equal to 50. So here you can see, since I have given start is equal to 50, so inside Roman, it's going to change it inside into that Roman symbol, whatever is for 50. So you can see this is for 50, this is 51, this is for 52. Those who still don't remember how the Romans are going to use the symbols over there for 50, for 40, for 30, try this one for different symbols over there, for different types over there, so you can find out. Similarly, you can have again nested list, just like the unordered list over there. So you can have nested HTML list over there, just like it. So you have an OL inside and you have another OL over there. So just for give you show you how this works over there. So if this is 1, 2, and inside tea, it can have two different options: black tea, green tea, or maybe some other tea. Then inside milk, you can have coconut milk, you have soya milk, or maybe any other cow milk or something. So you can have a nested list inside, just like your unordered list over there. Now coming back to in others list is exactly the very same thing. I've already discussed it, the HTML description list, so nothing fancy over there. Now the next thing, which is very, very important, and that is called as the HTML block and inline elements. Now this is something very, very important, and that makes the basis of all the CSS which we are going to do from now on, or we have already done just now. Now, there are two types of elements inside HTML. One is called as the block level element, another one is called as the inline element. Now, before I move on and read down the definition over there, I will go back over there on the HTML file we have been doing just now. Now, here inside this file, if I go back a little down, and if you remember your index part 1, we did it, this was a paragraph. Now, whenever you're talking about a paragraph over there, and this is that paragraph over there, inside that paragraph, you have an image, you have something. Now, image is not going to take the whole page width. But when you are going to have a P, let's say this one, let's say this is a P over here from this part to this paragraph takes the whole width of the page. I'm talking about the width. Whenever an element takes the whole width of the page, that is called as a block element, because then it is resembling a block on the whole width of the page. But if an element, just like supposedly, let's just say I go down a little bit, and here I used an element over there. Let me just show you. Yes, this one. I used this strong property or the text formatting that was for Indian military. This was a starting text strong, ending text strong. So that's why the Indian military was made bold, if you remember it. Just to give you an idea, what was it? Again, going back to the HTML page, and inside Indian military, you can see over there, this was the Indian military. So this paragraph was full page width, but Indian military was an inline element, because you're doing a property or a tag over there for one portion of that page. So this is called as an inline element over there. So there are two different types of element. One is called as a block line element, and the other one is called as an inline element. Now, what are block level elements? Let's just say P is a block level element, as I told you. Div is again a blockline element. And what is a div? A div element defines a division or a section in HTML document. And now div can have P, it can have H1, H2, H3, whatever. Now it's just like you are combining two, three different elements, or maybe only one element inside it, and you call it as a div. Now, why you apply a div or a division or a section in HTML document? So that you can apply one specific property to that area. Just say, supposingly I'm opening, let's just say what is the news today. So if I want to go towards geo.tv and I opened it over there, now you can see over there in this portion, you have a very different content over here. In this region, you have a different content. Here you have a different content. So these are like three different divs over there. And inside this div, the size of the page or the font size is different. Here inside is different. Here it is something different. So in this way, you can apply different classes on your div. Now I'm introducing a new word which is called as HTML classes. Now you have done inside your C language course, if you are good programmers, you must have an idea that you have a class, and in that class you have the properties of that class, and you can apply it. Supposedly you are four sections over there, section A, B, C, D. So if like one section is something very good in C language, or something one section is very good in either HTML course or this AICT course, so they have a different property. So just like it, you can apply a different class on a different element, and for that element, and you have combined two, three elements, you can use the class over there. That is called as an HTML class. I will come back to this HTML class later on, but normally a block level elements is P and div, and there are some other block level elements as well, which have been combined together over there. You can see address. If you remember, the address of any author or something was a block level element. Article, if you remember, it was a block level. We have still not done this aside. We have done this block code. Canvas, we have still not done it, but we will maybe doing it when we are talking about the CSS. DD is a block level element. Div, as I told you, is a block level element. DL is for the list over there. DT also. Field set, if you remember the image map and all that. Figure caption for any image over there. Figure also. Footer also. Form, we have still not done the form because we are still not doing any form over there. H1 to H6 headers, or header simple at the very bottom of the page. HR, that was a thematic break. LI is for the list over there inside here, unordered list or the ordered list over there. Main is a section of the layout. We will discuss that later on. Navigation bar is another way of CSS. We will discuss this over there. No script is something different. We will talk this one when you're talking about the JavaScript. OL is for the ordered list. P is for the paragraph. Pre is for pre-formatted text over there. Section is for, again, a layout thing. We'll discuss this later on. Table, we have already done it, tables. And you remember, whenever a table is made, that takes the whole. Now, you may be arguing it that whenever we made the table, it was not taking the whole width of the page. Why? Because we have not done the styling, but it takes the whole width. Now, it leaves us to us that we want to make that one full width, 50%, 60%, whatever. Similarly, T-foot, another used in the footer of that one. Then UL is the unordered list over there, and then the video, which is actually a videos applet added inside. So these are some of the block level elements over there. And inline elements is a very big library. I guess I don't need to tell you because we have already done it. A is a inline element because you want to add a link to any something. ABBR for the abbreviation acronym. B is for bold. BDO is for bidirectional order. Big is for like if you want to increase the size over there. BR is for a line break. Button, if you can add a button, we will be doing the button over there as well. Site code. DFN, we still not done this. DFN. EM was for, if you remember it, for the emphasis over there. I was for the italic. IMG was for image. Input is a command used in the HTML forms. KBD is something for the keyboard input. We will doing that one later on. Label is again used in the forms over there. Map is again used for the images map over there. Object is something again different over there. Our output is used in the HTML forms over there. Q is for the quotations. So these are some of the many inline elements, and remember, they do not take the whole. So inline element does not start a new line. It can work inside one line unless and until specified deliberately inside any CSS. So these are HTML, block, and inline. So all the elements are divided inside div element. Now see this very carefully. A div element or a division element is often used as a container for other HTML elements. And a very simple example, if you can see very closely over there, I have defined a div over here, and this div ends up till here. So you can see over there, inside div, you have an H2, and there is a paragraph over here. Then there is another paragraph, and you can see over there. Now, what is the advantage of this? You have two paragraphs, and here I can change that black color to, let's say, I can change it to aqua. So you can change it over there. I can change that color of the text to like something equal to black over there. So you can see, you can change it. You want to change the padding. I guess now you have an idea. If I make this now padding equal to 0, now you can see what happens, that everything goes on to the bottom. So everything has gone. So now if I want to add a padding again back, so I will just run it, and you can see now padding looks better because now you are making center aligned everything, your content, because padding works on all four sides. Now you can add padding separately on left, right, and the bottom as well, but we'll discuss that later on when we're talking about the CSS padding later on. But at present, just use the word padding. You can have the padding 10 px, you can have 10 pixels, you can have 30% or 30 pixels, sorry. So you can add paddings over there. So the point over here is that you can add divs over there one by one over here for encompassing many different elements inside one, and you can apply it. So now supposedly, let's say I want to add another div over there just below. So this will be another div, and here let's say I want to change that color to, let's say, that will be yellow. So I will just grab it. You can see now the two divs are separated with no distance. There is no space in between them, but they are totally separate. And I can now you may argue that because every time you are going to do a styling, you are doing, now you can do this styling inside your CSS, and that can be done by classes. Now I will come back to this classes later on because I don't have a CSS here in this part, but you can do this one. So, and you can do change the paragraph styling in your CSS. You can change the paragraph styling for this one by defining a class, and how that class is defined, we will just come into it later. Similarly, another element we have just not discussed is called as the span. Sometimes inside your text, you are trying to find out that you are trying to make one part is as a different font, different color, different background. You can use this span command. Now, span command is an inline container element, which means you can see over there it has blue eyes. So the blue is turned inside blue color. Now here you can see the color is this, font weight is blue over there, and you can see the mother has span, and inside that span you have the style property and you have it. So now whenever you want to make something different inside your paragraph, you can use the span keyword, the starting and the ending tag. So this works only in the inline element tag. This was one of the property, we have not still discussed it. So this is one span, and it can has no attribute, but style, class, and ID are common. Remember, it has no attributes, but style, class, and ID are common. When used together with CSS, the span element can be used to style parts of the text over there. I will just come back to this class and div later on, but at present, this is block and inline. Now, something more about div over there. Now, this is something very important when I'm going to use this div over there. So div element is used to block or a default a blocking element, meaning that it takes all width and comes with line breaks before and after. So whenever you are going to have it something like that, so let's say I want to add on my website, let's go on our page over there, and here inside it, after the, of course, the menu, the navigation menu, I want to add the section ACR and whatever stuff over there inside some div. So I will add a div over there. And when I've done this div over there, you can see it already adds the div that is actually a division. And here in this div, I have added this div. Now, what happens now, this will be taken as a different division or a section of my web page. So if I go back over there, you can see now this is a different section. The table is a different section over there. Now I want to apply a different styling on this one. I can do that styling very easily over there on this whole section. Let's say I want to apply the styling property. Let's say I want to apply styling, and inside it over there, I want to apply, I've added, I guess, two quotes now. I want to change the color to, let's say, maybe blue, and I want to change the font size to, let's say, let's maybe like something like 30 px over there. And I want to change the background color. Sorry, I have to put that background color to it's blue. Then I will have to make it something like, let's say, let's just use some different color, and this is my biscuit. So now what will happen, that all of this is now a section, and now I will have this text shown as a different section. You can see now section ACR, Ahmed, section BCR, Usman. I hope I have not given the wrong names over there. This is what I have remembered over there. I don't remember. I guess section C name is Rohel Rose over there. I still don't remember section DCR because I don't have much coordination with him. He was actually little late to have his name saved in my mobile. Anyway, so this was the div section over there, and in this div over here section, you can apply anything over there. So you can have a element combined together. You can have H2P over there, and you can apply anything. Let's say I want to apply inside this div over there. So I want to tell it, okay, I want to add over here in H3 over there. Let's say I want to add it sections at UT Lahore AI BSc AI degree. So this is AI degree, and I'm adding all of these over there. So when I do this one, automatically you will find out that section there. Now, why this is increased over there? Because I have given H3 automatically a styling before. So if you see, have seen this in part 3, I have an H3 over there, and H3 has a size of 140%, text line left over there. I want to make it something in center, so it's totally up to you. So this will automatically make that thing inside center. So you can see now, if I refresh it, why it's not working? It should be working. It should be text line center H3. Okay, yes, it should be working. I don't know why it's not working. H3 section is this BSc AI degree. Maybe it's the diff property has not been set up. That's why it's not going. Anyway, I will come back to this one later on. Anyway, so this one is the div as a container. Now, if you want to align, now this is something very important. If you want to, now this is exactly the same answer for the problem which I was happening. If you have a div element and that is not 100% wide, now this is something very important, and you want to center align it. Now, this is something very important. Set the CSS margin property to auto. Now, you talked about the margin. You can have a value inside it, margin, that was the outside it. If you make that margin property to auto, now what will happen if I make this margin property to auto? Let's say I copy this thing and I have it now. Go back in my CSS file, and wherever I'm talking about this div over there, where is my div over there? Okay, this is my div over there. And inside the styling property, I make it margin equal to auto over there. So now what will happen? I guess it should be working. Let's say inside over there. So you can see now that sections at util or BSC. So I guess you have now the answer that whenever you are over there inside a division section, then it's very important that you have the margin set to auto. Now, why this is auto or something like that, we will come back to it later on just for the case of it. So I'm not going to discuss this just at present, but we are discussing a little bit about images and all that. Then I will come back to this margin thing again. But just for now, if you want to center align it, then you are going to use this margin property to auto over there. So this is the same exact thing over there. You can see in this example, W3 schools gives you the lot option. So if you have this margin auto, if I take this margin auto out of it, so you can see it goes on to the left one. So I want to make it auto, so it should be something like this over there. If you want to do something, sorry about this one, and if you want to do this maybe like a padding, if just giving you an idea. Now what I'm doing over there inside the styling property, this is in internal CSS inside the style. So this is a div over there and I have put it over there. So if I now add a padding, let's say I want to add a padding of 20 px over there. Oh, sorry, actually I'm having a habit of control S over there. So you can see now I'm having a padding of 20 px, and automatically this padding 20 px is shown over there. You can see this is 20 px here, 20 px here, 20 px here. So that's why the 20 px is the distance over there. The width is already shown as 300 pixel. If this width was not given, so basically this was not given, then it will take the whole, because div is a block element. Remember, if you're not specifying the width over there, it will always take the sorry, I have this habit of control S. So you can see or something like this. So the div is always, you can have multiple div elements as well. Coming back to this one back, which means inside a div you can have another div, but here in this case you can see three different divs over there. Let's say let's see this example. I will just turn this off. So you can see now three different divs, and all of these divs have a different background, 1 2 3. So you can have different backgrounds for different divs and you can apply different styles. Now here you are doing an inline CSS. I will just tell you just a little later, maybe 5 minutes, we'll be doing the classes thing, and in that classes thing you can apply inside your CSS file over there. So this is very simple. So you can have the whole page is going to be. Then next thing, very important, you can have aligning div elements side by side, which is exactly the same thing, just like this geo page. I told you in this geo page where the news are there, this is actually one div, this is another div, this is another div. So how this works over there, this is something very important. You are going to again call the float property. That is float to the left over there. Now, what is this thing? Now, see this very carefully. I'm going to show first of all the example, and then I'm going to apply this one over there. Now, here comes the class thing, which is very, very important. Okay, I will come back to it on the link over there afterwards, but here, since the example uses, I'm going to use this one over there. So if you see this one, div class my container. Now the word is called as class. Now the class name is called as my container. So what is happening? There is a full div which is called as my container, and inside it you have one div, you have another div, you have another div. So div is like a section. There's one div on the whole, and inside that div you have three different divs over there, and they all have different styling of their own. So I'm not concerned with that. Okay, well and good, no issues with that. Now here inside it you have one div, another div. I wanted that they take 33% of the page, which is exactly as shown over there. So if you see over there, whenever you want to address this my container, how you are going to address it inside your CSS file or inside it, you can see how it is being done. Div dot my container, which means div is the type of the element, whatever you are trying to read, and my container is that total name of that class, brackets open, just like anything. Width is equal to 100%, overflow is equal to auto. Now what this means over there, that whenever I'm going to stretch it, it's still going to auto adjust it. It's not going to be overflowing. If you remember the overflow property we did it, there was a hide, there was a scroll or something like that. So we're not going to have that something over there. It's auto. So it's automatically going to adjust itself according to it. So inside this main class, remember this is the outside main class. I have made the width equal to 100%. Now instead I will make it, let's just make it 50%. Let's say I make it 50%. Now you can see how it is changing. It's only taking 50% of my page. The width is taking 50% of my page, but I want it for the whole 100%. So this is 100%, and now let's take 100%. Now for the div which is inside it, and for that purpose, now the nomenclature is different. Now you see very carefully, div dot my container, main class, and inside it there is a div. And why? Because there is a div inside this my container class. So div dot my container, then there is a div over there. So here width is equal to 33%, float is equal to left. So all these 1 2 3, they are floated towards the left, and you can see a little more space here. Why? Because 33 plus 33 plus 33 is 99. That 1% is still remaining. So if I would have made it like 33.333, then maybe it would be much, much better. So here Nothing fancy, nothing change. Now, let's say I want to make it like something, let's say deliberately, I'm making it 25%. See what happens. Now it is taking 25, 25, 25. The remaining 25 is empty. This means that I can add another div over here, and that will be taking, let's say I want to add it because this is London, Oslo, Rome. Let's say I want to add Islamabad over there, the capital of Pakistan. So Islamabad is the capital city of Pakistan, and I don't know the population of Islamabad, but Islamabad has the, let's say, assuming it has like something, uh, maybe like, I still don't remember it. Maybe like something like 10 million or something like that. Maybe 10 million. Anyway, so you can see now the Rome and Islamabad is added. So in this way, you can arrange. Now, what is going to happen in this geo page? You can see there will be three divs. 33%, 33%, 33%, and the whole my div will be having some padding on this side, some padding on this side, and that's why it's taking that much space, and that's why you are concentrating everything inside over there. So in this way you can add over there. Now even if you change this type, like, so let's just say I just change it to 50%. Now see what happens, because now it is being overflow, so that's why it's getting an auto. So you can see over there I've just taken 50% of the page. That's why it's showing you this thing. You can even change the color of that individual div, and if I want to, let's just say I want to make all the divs which are inside, I want to make the background color, let's say I want to make that background color equal to let's just say green. So here, when I've made it green, because I am doing an inline CSS, they are overriding the main property. Remember, the inline CSS is the most superseding thing. So if I don't give a styling property here inside this style, let's say, so when I'm going to run it over there, let's just, because I've missed this one, it will be automatically green. So remember, the inline CSS which you do with each element is superseding, or it has more power as compared to the internal CSS or the external CSS file which you add over there. So I hope you're getting. Now I want you that all these files which we have done up till now, the part 3 and part 4, I want you to arrange them inside divs over there. So this means that now I can take this out of it. Let's say I want to take this style out of it and make a new class. Let's say I make a new class over there and I call it, let's say, sections. Let's say I call it sections over there. And inside this class, go back inside this one, and here inside, or I guess below this, let's say I just make it above the table, that is div dot class over there, sorry, sections over there, sorry, div dot sections, and I have over there, so this is my div dot sections. I don't need this style now, and I have the color and everything over there. So div dot sections, let me just confirm it is sections. Yes, sections. So now in this section, this will be sections over there, and I'm going to have exactly the same property, no change over there. So my page is now going to use the class. You can see nothing is changed over there. So now if I want to change something, let's say I want to change the background color from biscuit to something, let's just say I want to make it something a little bluish color. So I will just save the file, go back on my browser, refresh it, and automatically you can see it has changed its color over there. So I guess now you are getting the point that you can arrange many different. The point is it that you have to float equal to left. Try this with the float equal to right. You will get a little idea over there. Next thing, very important before I move on towards the class. I already have done the classes, but I will just go back to this and I will click this link again. For the inline block, what is display inline block? Now, this is something very important. Inline block means that over here, if you change the div element display property from block to inline block, the div element will no longer add a line break before and after and will be displayed side by side instead of top of each other. Now, previously what you did the float property. Okay. Here, now you have a display inline block. So let's just see this thing. Display inline block over there. So div, no class defined, just div. So this is a master class defining for all the divs over there. So you can see now this div, this div, and this div. Now, practically, if this property was not there, let's say this property was not there like this, and I just run it, they all three are on top of each other because div is a block level element. But if I add inside this styling property width of 30%, and I do go it called display inline block, you can see 30, 30, 30, the remaining 10% is empty because that's 90% over there. If I make it like something 33%, you can see it will be changing more over there. Why? Because this time it's an inline block and there is some spacing over there. That spacing is not completing inside it. So if I just make it like something 32%, let's assume it. Now you can see it's completely there. Because previously you are using the float left. You are floating one thing with another. So there was no spacing over there. So here this is a display inline block. I will come back to this inline block and this property of display more when we are talking about the CSS in detail. But at present, this display inline block can also be used. But I will normally advise you to use this one, the float property or the inline block property. They are the most ones used, and any website you are going to create, use this display property of inline block or the float. The next thing is the flex over there and the grid. I'm not going to discuss this at present. Why? Because this is something different, and that's actually just like a flex module and a grid. A grid, just like as you have done in your Microsoft Word or your Microsoft Office over there, a grid layout makes use of how you are going to have the columns created. So I'm not going to discuss this one over there. I'm going to discuss it when we are going to talk about this CSS Flexbox and CSS grid later on. So leave these two things over there, the grid and the Flexbox, but they are very, very highly, because whenever you want to make a website responsive, which means you want to open it on your mobile also, you want to make it over there, then you use the flex layout model, which means you are going to provide it inside in terms of percentage. So it's going to be flexibly more, it's going to be more flexible. Instead of using the float or the positioning, you are going to make it flexible. So there's a totally different thing. I will come back to it when we discuss the CSS layout over there. Normally CSS flex and CSS grid are the ones, if you have gone through the bootstrap, those who are a little bit inside this HTML and they have an idea what is bootstrap. Bootstrap uses actually the flex over there, and it uses this in very, very good fashion. And it's, you can see over there, the result is something like this. If you are using a grid, you can use this 33, 33, 33, and it's still visible. So this is all for the HTML div. I hope you have an idea that how div works over there. Next thing, HTML classes. As I've already told you, you can define a class, and a class attributes is often used to point to a class name inside any style sheet over there. Now it's totally up to you. You want to define a class over there. Now there was one way of doing it. I told you that you can define div dot sections. Now instead of using the word div, you don't want to give the word div, just use dot sections. It will still work over there. That's another way of doing it. Let me just show you. And you can see it's still working because you can use dot. Remember, dot and the class name, and then you can, inside that style sheet, you can add any of the. So now the good thing is this, that now you can apply this class, because it's not specific to any div. It can apply to a paragraph, even it can apply to any heading as well. So it can be used for any other element, not just div over there. So using that dot class name, it gives easy over there. You can apply it on a div, you can apply it on a p, you can apply it on any other thing over there. Similarly, many examples over there. You can apply it on a span as well. That is a span command we just did now. So you can use this class command. So I hope now you have an idea. Now you can have a different heading or different thing for everything. For example, let's say you have an h1, you have an h2. Now here, this was the heading h1 and this was ul over there. Now, if we want to add over here, let's say I want to add, this is the class and I want to call it, let's say I want to call it the page heading. Let's just say the heading. Let's say this is called heading over there. And I want to add another h1. Let's say I want to, after this one over there, I want to add another one, heading over there. And I want to call it over there. Let's say we are at part 4 in this video. And I don't want to define any class over there. Let's say I don't want to define it. So I'm using two different h1 now. This one is heading, this one is h1. Now, without defining heading, let's just say I'm not defining heading over there, and I go back on this one and I define this one. So you can see now the two headings are having exactly the same thing because I have not defined the heading class. Now go back on the code over here, and here this time, where I'm defining heading over there, just below that, or maybe anywhere in this style sheet over there, I define heading. And inside that heading, because that's a heading over there, and here inside it, I just copy these things over there and I apply this thing. And here this time, instead of using the, I'm just going to make h1 is like this, adding something like this. So I just want to now change H1. Let's say I want to change that font size to a little small because there's a little portion of that one. So let's just say I call it 50px, and I make that color equal to, let's just say I make it something an orange color. The background color, I just change it to something a little bit more normal. The color size, the border, I just take out the border. So because this is a heading, okay? So now what will happen that now when I'm going to refresh it, now you can see they both are two H1s, but one is employing a different class, the other one is employing nothing. You can apply another class as well. So now this one is also a heading. This one is also a heading H1, but they are employing different classes. You can do that one as well. So that is very simple when you can use an HTML class over there. And remember one thing, the syntax of the class, as I told you, to create a class, write a period, that is a full stop over here, followed by the class name, then define the CSS property between the curly braces, as I've already told you. So it's very something. Multiple classes. Now, one thing very important, HTML elements can belong to more than one class. Now, this is one way. We will do this one later on, but just for nomenclature at present, here you can see H2, it's taking the class city and it's also taking the class main. So over here, let me just show you the example. I will not apply this one. You can do this later on. So you have two classes over here. One is main, one is city. So when I'm using this city and main both, remember they are separated by space over there. So city is having padding color tomato. As you can see, the color is changed to that orangish color. The color is padding is 10px, very good. But inside that main class, the text align is center. So you can see now it is text align equal to center. So automatically you can see that whenever you are doing a heading, you can apply. So now London is in the center, Paris is not there on the left side. It's not in the center. Why? Because you are not. Now you want to change it to also Paris also to main. So now Paris will also come in the center. So you can apply multiple classes over there. And this is something very good because now you can use, if you want to apply the heading over there, you want to change color by one class, you want to change the size by one class. So you can apply different classes and you can use them over there. So multiple classes are also possible whenever you, and different elements can share the same class. As I've told you, you can use the same heading for the same class over there. So it's nothing different over there. And by using of this class, you can use JavaScripts. Now I'm going to introduce the JavaScripts in front of you. So now when I'm going to use the JavaScript, now how this works over there. Now see this very carefully now. JavaScript can access elements with a specific class name with the get elements by class name method. As you already know, method is always going to have that curly brackets at the very end. So get elements by class name method. Now, inside your script, I'm not defining JavaScript. I'm not telling you how the variable works and all that. I'm just going to copy this function and I'm just going to copy this inside my strict the script over there and inside this index part 3 where my script is empty still because we have not added anything. I just add this. Now what I've added a function. It's called as my function, and variable x is equal to document because I'm talking about this document which I am present, get element by class name. And here I am going to call it heading because I've only till now I guess I have added only one class. I guess only one class, or maybe I have added I guess more classes as well. I guess if I'm not wrong, I guess I have added more classes. Yes, the heading is the one class I've added up till now. So just add heading. And I'm having a for loop, just like any C language. If you are good with for loops over there, for bracket open variable I. VAR is the symbol or the sorry the reserve word for igniting or initiating a variable. So variable I is equal to 0. I is less than x dot length. What is x? X is the length of that, and x dot length I plus plus, which means again I'm incrementing that I, brackets open. You can press this enter and make this in one line. X array dot style dot display is equal to none. Now what this is going to happen, whenever this function is going to be made run, it's going to go and see that which elements are having this class name heading. And when this is going to be done, for variable I, whichever elements are there, because I'm just using one, so I don't need to do it. But here in this case, because class can be used by many different elements, so xi dot style dot display. So there is a property inside style attribute, which is called as display. And when I make it none, that thing will be gone. It will not be displayed. giving the property display equal to, there are many different values of display property. It can be block, it can be inline block, it can be none. None means that that thing is not going to be displayed. So I just want to take that heading out of it. I don't want that to be available. So I just made the function. Now I have to call this function. Let's see. I just want to give you an idea. Let's just see first of all the example, and I will tell you how this works over there. Now, over here, if you see over there, I have added a button, and this button is something going to be on click. There is a property inside it, or an attribute inside it, not a property, actually attribute. On click equal to brackets inside double quotes, my function over there, and my function is written over there. So now what will happen, as soon as I click on this one, hide the elements, and what will happen, wherever the class city is being used, city. So London, Paris, Tokyo, as soon as I click it, three things are gone. So now I will apply this thing, and I will show you this one on our website. And this is JavaScript now, and I'm going to add this button on the very top over there, where I'm using this heading over there. And just below that heading, or maybe just below this, let's just say the navigation bar or the H1, just let's just this one, I'm adding a button. So button on click my function, and I just call it hide the heading of page. So when I've done this one, heading of page over there, just I will go back on my page, refresh that page. And now button is very small size. We have to style it again, but just for now, if I click on this one, you can see the page heading is gone. Even if I now click it, it will not be displayed because this is one time click purse. If you want to regain it, you have to do some toggling. So if I just refresh it, the page will be loaded. If I click on hide the heading of the page, you can see now. So in this way, you can hide any content by clicking a button. This function can be clicked by some other way as well. It can be run after some timer as well. So this is, again, the point is over here is that you can have different scripts of the section added, and inside that script you have added the first function of JavaScript. Here, function, whatever you want to name it, you want to call it XYZ, whatever you want to call it, Pakistan or whatever, or AICT, totally up to you. Variable is the reserve word, variable X. Again, document.getElements by class name. Heading is the name of that class name, because I'm getting all the elements by class name heading. For variable, because I want to select all the elements which are using the class name heading. So have to use this variable loop, for loop, because class can be used by many different elements. Here in my case, there is only one, so it will be only run one time, because x dot length is going to tell me that how many values are inside this array, because this is going to be an array over there whenever it's going to be using this function. Remember, document is the HTML document which I am using at present, the HTML extension file, and get elements by class name is actually the one thing. So this is xi brackets open, again the rectangular brackets. I hope you have an idea about arrays over there. So xi dot style dot display and inverted commas, you have none over there, and this is there, like so. You have now the heading changed over there inside it. For example, let's just do it, and I will complete this portion here at present, because this is now getting a little longer and I want you to be concentrated on this one. Let's say I don't want to change that one. I want to change the color. Let's say I want to change the color of this heading. So what I will do, x.style.color over here, and inside this color, I change it to, let's say, green. So let's say I want to change it to color, and I have changed it to, and I refresh it over there, and I click on this one. You can see now the color changes. You can change any display property now. So instead of having this word of hide the content of the page, I can go back on my this one, and where I'm putting this button over there. So I want to change the heading of the page. So this can be changed the heading of the page over there. So in this way, just reload the page. This is in blue color. If I change the heading of the page, this changes to the green color. So I hope now you have the HTML classes over there. Please kindly go through this HTML classes in detail, and also go through this HTML ID. ID is something unique for one element over there. So this is HTML ID. I will come back to it later on in maybe part 5, because this has now gone a little longer than expected. So I am finishing it off at HTML classes at present, and HTML buttons I've already discussed in front of you just now. But in the next part 5, I will be discussing the ID buttons and iframes. HTML JavaScript, I have already introduced some portion of it. So in part 5, I will be completing this one, the remaining part. I hope you have enjoyed up till now and you are understanding what we are doing in this table. Sorry for the extraordinary content over there and the extraordinary size of this files over there or the recordings over there. So this is all over here and this is part number 4. And I hope you have learned something over there from the recording. Thank you.